Admittedly, heading into Monday night's game in Washington against the Redskins, I was a little nervous about the Bears. The history of midday Mitch and noontime Nagy in prime time, not great. Bears coming off of a game in Denver that they had probably every right to ultimately lose. They're 1-1. The Redskins are 0-2. They've got nothing to lose except more games, frankly. But was worried about this one a little bit because you felt like this could potentially be a little bit of a breakout game for the Bears, but you knew that they really needed it. And I think in some ways, even though it got a little closer and hairier than it needed to in the second half, it ultimately was that breakout game that was needed for the Bears. And the tone setter was really the Clinton Dix pick six early in the first quarter. Like that set the tone. That settled everything down. I think that relaxed everybody. I know it most certainly relaxed me and gave me that vibe very early that, okay, this is going to be the Bears' night. Ha ha! He's going to get his revenge. They needed that pick early on. It didn't hurt by any means to get 3 passing touchdowns from Mitchell Trubisky to Taylor Gabriel in the second quarter. Blew the game wide open. Going into halftime, 28-3. You're wondering maybe, hey, if this gets much worse, how much longer is Jay Gruden going to be coaching the Washington Redskins? Is it finally Dwayne Haskins' time? Because Case Keenum is playing like doo-doo. But they didn't. And especially once you come out early in the second half and Clinton Dix picks off another Case Keenum pass, you're like, oh my goodness, it is really time, isn't it? But to the Redskins' credit, they did not cave. They did not give up. Where it felt like the Bears, both offensively and defensively, kind of coasted in the second half, the Redskins kept attacking. They kept coming. Put up a couple touchdowns in the third quarter, and all of a sudden you turn around and you look and you're like, oh my God, it's 28-15. This is a ball game. This is really a ball game. And you're sitting there in the fourth quarter, it's a 13-point game. You know, the Redskins are driving again. Then they force the fumble from Case Keenum, his 5th turnover of the night on 4th and short when he tried to dive over the line. Trevathan with an outstanding play, every bit as good as the deke out sack that he had earlier on in the night. The Bears finally came to their senses like, oh, maybe we should run David Montgomery a little bit. Well, ground themselves into position. Eddie Pinheiro puts another one through the uprights, and the Bears end up winning 31-15. Not the prettiest of second halves. Would have been nice if they would have really blown this thing wide open. But hey, at this point in time, it was the Bears' best game of the year, and you feel a lot better about them now at 2-1. Looking at the good and the bad and the ugly from this Week 3 primetime Monday night matchup. The good, Clinton Dix, 9 total tackles, 2 interceptions. That pick 6 that early on in the game really set the tone for the Bears on the night. Khalil Mack helping out that defense as well with 2 sacks, including the strip sack, forced fumble on Case Keenum that led to another Bears touchdown. You know, just Khalil Mack as a monster was worth all the price that they paid for him in terms of draft picks and money. Bears' run defense once again was stout. The Redskins never had a chance, and especially once it got down 28-3, they were largely going to abandon the running game, which was ineffective in and of itself. Taylor Gabriel, 3 second quarter touchdown catches, including that third one that was just a special play. Like, that was a big-time play, and that's where you just knew that this is the Bears' night, by God. Wasn't all bad news for the Washington Redskins. Terry McLaurin had another really good night. He made NFL history Monday by becoming the first wide receiver in the first 3 games of his career to have at least 5 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown in each of his first 3 games. Needless to say, the Redskins have found themselves potentially their Mike Thomas. They found themselves their potential number 1 wide receiver. All of that out of 3rd-round pick. Makes you wonder what the hell Urban Meyer was doing with him down at Ohio State. But nonetheless, in a night of bad performances for the Redskins, Terry McLaurin was a star again. When you look at the bad in this game, Trubisky's early game ball placement was atrocious. And still, even throughout the course of the night at times, it's just off. Like, if you can't see the field, at least be able to hit the damn target. You know, where you look at it and you say, well, his completion percentage was greater than 80%. He was really good. No, he wasn't. That's where completion percentage can be very misleading when it comes to determining true accuracy. His true accuracy on the night was not very good. It was, yes, his best game of the year, but frankly, what the hell is that really saying? Also, look at the Bears' second half pass defense. They started getting shredded a little bit by McLaurin, by Paul Richardson. It's something the Bears are going to have to work on. It's something they had trouble with in 2018 was being able to close and finish as a defense. They need to be able to be better. Maybe this game will serve as a bit of a lesson, but similar to what you saw with Denver the week before, they struggled a little bit to tighten up when they needed to the most. The Bears' play calling balance wasn't the best. Now, it's kind of nitpicky on a night like this to say, well, they're up 28-3 to halftime. But, it's frankly, let's be honest here. You're talking about a situation where they just seem to have this allergy to giving David Montgomery the goddamn football as a ball carrier. And when they really needed to kind of wrestle away the momentum of the game and they needed to seal the deal, what did they do? They went to David Montgomery on the ground and put him in field goal position, killed a bunch of clock, and they end up holding on to win. So there you go. The Bears' offensive line. It was not a very good performance. 3 sacks allowed on Trubisky. He was facing quite a bit of pressure all night, which most certainly did not help. And just in general, the run blocking is suspect. I think Kyle Long's done, personally, based off of what I've seen. You got fans on Twitter opining about whether or not Daniels and Whitehair should be switching back positions, except they seem to forget that Cody Whitehair can't snap the goddamn ball. Nonetheless, is what it is. Their offensive line through 3 weeks has not been good. They need to get better in a hurry if this team wants to go anywhere. You already have question mark at the quarterback position. You don't want to add to the question mark by having a crappy offensive line. You just don't. And then Case Keenum on this night, 5 turnovers. You look at Case Keenum, you don't typically envision him being this type of guy that'll have that many turnovers. Just a bad night. 3 picks, 2 fumbles. Not good. And you're now 0-3. And the veteran turned the ball over 5 times. I mean, come on, give me a damn break. And even if you say, well, he led him to a couple of second half touchdowns. Okay, what the hell did that mean? They were already getting smoked. They just made it a little less smoke and a little more interesting. That didn't mean anything. But the Bears needed this win. There's no question about it. In terms of looking ahead, what's next? You look at the Redskins, and you got to imagine the heat is going to be cranked up on Jay Gruden's seat. And frankly, it should. For him, for defensive coordinator Greg Bednusky, overall, this is a really poor performance on Monday night, which Redskin fans are more than accustomed to. And then I have to ask again, you are 0-3. You are not a playoff team. This whole notion that it is better for Dwayne Haskins to sit on the bench and learn is dumb. Case Keenum just went out there and had a 5-turnover night. You're insulting everybody's intelligence by thinking that Dwayne Haskins couldn't at least do that. When is it going to be Dwayne Haskins' time? And the answer better be sooner rather than later. Otherwise, Jay Gruden should be fired immediately. As far as the Bears, you look at this and you say, okay, after that bad performance week 1, you could see progress. You could see it's getting better. There's still things to work on here. And I'm holding them to a standard. And just because the Bears won and they're 2-1 and that feels good, doesn't mean we should settle. Doesn't mean we should be complacent. Doesn't mean that we should automatically assume everything is fine or can't point out flaws or things that are going to have to be worked on. Because the reality is right now, they do not look like a Super Bowl team. They have a Super Bowl level defense, but as a team overall, they ain't it yet. They could be. They could get better as the season goes along. But right now, they're not there. And let's not pretend like they are. They could do a little bit to help put themselves in that position, though, in week 4, facing off against a 2-1 Minnesota Vikings team. If you're the Bears, you really, really, really need this game. You cannot lose to the Vikings. Go 2-2, be staring down the barrel, be in last place in the division a quarter of the way through the season, and, oh, by the way, being 0-2 in the division. If you do that, it's going to be really, really hard to win the NFC North. Really, really hard. Let's hope, if you're a Bears fan, that this game builds them some positive momentum and they will be crisper and cleaner and sharper on both sides of the ball for 60 minutes come Sunday, because if they're not, the Vikings are going to beat them, and then it's going to be a little bit of panic time for the Chicago Bears.